cosmological, then you have the top thin box. This again is just the same as how it'll be for teleological and ontological as well. You need to have, so it's the second bullet point and the third bullet point, please. You need to say in your exam what cosmological means. Cosmological means the study of the universe. Study of is the logical part, universe is the cosmo part. So as soon as you start a cosmological essay, whether it's on Hume or Aquinas, whoever it is, you need to say cosmological means. You also need to say that it's an a posteriori argument. Posteriori is in post, after senses, it's using senses to gather understanding and information, and this is to do with the cosmos or the universe. So you can gain a knowledge about God's existence from using your senses looking to the universe. So first thin box is for what it means and why it's a posteriori. First of your three large boxes then is for the first way of Aquinas, the first way or the unmoved mover. I'll just put the slide up and then you can see how you're going to fill out your box. So the box is the one with the two pictures, the baby with the man. Aquinas' first way, in Summa Theologica, we know this because it's the book where most of his references are found. Summa Theologica, Aquinas has 5 ways. The cosmological is the first 3 ways. You have to know that in your exam. That's pass-fail territory if you do not know which of the ways they are. So it's the first 3 out of the 5. The 5th is the teleological, the first 3 are the cosmological. Unmoved mover, the first way looks at motion, motus, movement. That's why it's called mover. Don't link this to cause and effect because that's the second way. This is all to do with motion and movement. Everything in motion is changing from potential to actual. This state of motion is started and caused by something else. This cannot go back infinitely. Therefore, the first mover is God. God is the unmoved mover. This topic focuses on the idea of infinity. The idea that infinite does not exist. There is no such thing as infinite. There must always be a start and an end point. So because motion cannot go back infinitely into the past, it must start somewhere. That start is God. In your exam, that will get you a D grade. There is not enough on there to get you the high grades. What you need to do in your exam is, other than evaluate of course, is you need to explain this idea of infinity and why things cannot go back infinitely. So the idea there has to be a starting point for Aquinas. You also have to explain why it's called the unmoved mover. So it's a being that moves without moving itself. So it moves things, is the mover, but is unmoved. The unmoved mover does not move. Why? Because then it supports the main attributes of God. Because if God did move, then it's part of the process, it's part of change, and therefore cannot be immutable and not perfect. If God moved, it'd also be part of the process, which means there must be something else that's separate from it. God must be that unmoved agent. Third of all, the other thing that you would need to talk about is just what I've done there by mistake, is you need to link this to Aristotle. You need to say how the influences come from Aristotle's prime mover, how the influences come from the idea of potential to actual and the idea of motion or motors. These are the areas that you must look at in your exam. So I highly advise, if you do have space in that box, to write those things down, because if it comes to revise and you just revise that, you've got a D grade. So you have to look at infinity, you have to make the links to Aristotle, and you have to explain why it's called the unmoved mover and why that's important, as well as of course evaluate. Does anyone have any initial questions or problems with that? All right, second way is the uncaused causer. Cause and effect exist in the world. This is to do with cause and effect, of course. That's why it's called uncaused causer. If you eliminate cause, you also eliminate its effects, so that you cannot have a last cause nor an intermediate one unless you have a first. That is a quote taken from Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica. What it means is you cannot eliminate a cause without also eliminating its effects, because you can't have a last cause, an end cause, or an intermediate middle cause without having a first cause, like a book. You cannot have a middle of a book and an end of a book without the start. And so we are living in the middle of the universe now as far as time is concerned. There will be the end of time, probably when the sun explodes. There has to be a beginning. You can't live in the middle and not have a beginning and an end.